The meeting, this was supposed to take the place of having to have the other meeting.
I was assuming we were gonna have some of the
So-
chiefs and stuff here, so,
Yeah, me too.
Because for that matter, we could have just replayed the meeting we had last Tuesday.
yeah.
Oh, well, this got me caught up on some desk work while I was
Okay.
waiting. So do we need to go back in session then, Sam?
Yeah, we will call the meeting to order. It is 7 PM on June 29th, 2021. We have a presentation on PulsePoint. So I guess Pamela, you're really the only one that hasn't seen the presentation.
Yes.
Okay. So do we want,
I'll keep it talk to you,
okay.
okay?
So do we want, is it Craig? That's,
Yeah, Craig's the presenter. He's with PulsePoint.
yeah, I don't know if we'll have, if we,
Craig Erickson here with PulsePoint, and I guess I'm your resource, so just let me know how I can best assist.
okay.
I guess
Well,
if you want to go through it real quick, you won't have as many questions today. I fully expected that we were going to have a crowd for this, so I'm kind of disappointed that we're even going through this exercise. I
Yeah.
hope we're not wasting your time.
so you will be doing it again at the Chiefs meeting, whenever that is, right?
The second presentation was this one and not at the chief's meeting, from what I understood. That's my understanding as well.
Is this being captured that it can be
Was that a full instead of the chief's meeting?
It's gonna be YouTube.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, okay.
They just didn't feel there was enough time, with the message that was relayed to email, to get everybody on. So anybody that, wanted to see it, and since we do deal with the public a lot, plus I've been in nursing 40-some years, my husband's on the fire department, and I deal a lot with the public, so, that's why I'm joining. I'm very interested in the information that I'm hopefully gonna get this evening. So that's why I'm here.
Just state
Yeah,
your
we're
presentation.
happy you're on. We, from my understanding from the communication, this was the second option, for the presentation in addition to the previous commission meeting. And I certainly, in August, can share information later on about implementation at the chief's meeting, but I do not believe we were gonna have another, a third presentation. I don't think that was the plan.
Well, but this is being
I'm
captured.
hoping to be in Florida the 13th, or the 9th, so, for my birthday, so.
That's a pretty poor excuse. No.
I know.
I'm just teasing.
Isn't it? It's a pretty sad one, but.
Yeah, well, then we're capturing this, so this can actually be played again, I guess, at the Chiefs meeting, so, why don't, pardon?
That should work well then.
Yeah,
What's the difference between this one and last Tuesday? Last Tuesday's was recorded too. We just play it over again. So it doesn't make sense. This is just, I don't know. I just don't know why we don't have anybody that was interested in it, that maybe couldn't make it to the Chiefs meeting that was here tonight, should have been here. And it's not that hard to call in to do this, so. I'll let you do the presentation if you want to.
Yeah,
and
let's-
I can be pissy after we let you
yeah,
all
let's do
go.
the presentation.
I'm just very
and-
disappointed right now
And we'll
to waste your all's time.
capture
the way I see
it, and then we will, see, if Sheriff Wheeler wants to show it again, then he can. So why don't you proceed with your presentation, and, we'll go from there.
Okay, I do need the rights to share my screen.
You know how to do that, Brian?
Disable participant screen sharing.
Okay, can be done now.
The real
Oh, you're not the host, okay, sorry.
Okay, and I can, commissioners, if you'd like me to, I could try to be a little bit more brief, kind of in respect of your time. But certainly I have all the time in the world, as much as you'd like to spend on it.
Yeah, let's be brief, just go ahead and give it. And then if Pamela, if there's any questions or things like that, then we can answer those. And I think that's probably the best.
You got it. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and jump in then. And again, feel free to interject any questions, but just a brief introduction on PulsePoint. We're a nonprofit organization. We partner with public safety, and our goal is to help communities improve early CPR and early AED utilization through our alerting technology. So just to kind of set the table on the problem, kind of the crisis with cardiac arrest, survival when you have an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest is anywhere around 10-11% in North America. And one of the bigger factors of survival is early CPR. Basically, every minute that goes by, you lose about a 10% chance of survival. So with PulsePoint, the way it works is we connect to the dispatch center CAD software. So when a dispatcher gets a call from the community, a 911 call, and it's identified that the victim is unconscious, unresponsive, and could benefit from CPR, what happens then is there's an automated interface that will automatically alert any app user within about a quarter mile of the victim. So it's kind of like an Amber Alert, but more localized to try to get those hidden resources in the community to identify where the victim is and be able to provide assistance with CPR. Because it could just be one person with the victim calling into 911. And ideally, if you have a few people there that can trade off on CPR, somebody can get an AED, that's kind of the best practice of being able to buy enough time, basically, and keep the blood flowing and oxygen flowing until your first responders can arrive and then be able to take that episode from that point. PulsePoint's a first net certified application, so that means there's a lot of end-to-end security. To get to that level, it's a pretty high bar from a development standpoint. And even within post-pandemic, hopefully here, right, there's some indications at the Eagles conference I was at last week that there is even more of a crisis with cardiac arrest. So it's still going to be an issue, and PulsePoint's really in the space to try to help out public safety address that with other strategies as well. Another thing that we really work hard on is to help you guys get your AEDs located. So within Cole County, there's probably hundreds of AEDs, but the challenge is nobody knows where they're at in those critical first couple minutes of a cardiac arrest. So with our tools, and there's also some training that we'll provide that will help the organization basically identify where an AED is, help get the community aware of where that AED is, and then within that CPR alert that PulsePoint sends out, we would also then display the nearby AED locations. So from a visual perspective, we're kind of trying to help, map out the AEDs visually, and then also on the right side, this is a responder map of an area. So there's kind of the hidden resources in the community that have been trained on CPR. We're trying to really activate those resources and help get them to the care of the victim. From a defibrillation perspective, when a shock is delivered by the public or anybody basically in the first few minutes of a cardiac arrest, survival chances are dramatically improved. As I mentioned earlier, if you provide CPR early, every minute that you start CPR, you're probably introducing another 10% chance of survival. The window of defibrillation is a pretty small window. So typically in turnout time and travel time, the chances of survival with a neurologically intact patient is pretty minimal, and that's why, again, as a country, we're only at about 11% survival rate. But we've seen a lot of good instances where early CPR and early AED use can really make a big difference in survival. PulsePoint's been around for about 10 years, and we have about 4,000 communities that are connected to our life-saving network, millions of app users. So it's a very proven system. A lot of Missouri agencies have been using it for quite a while as well. So you have a lot of experience with our organization. All we do is PulsePoint. So the foundation itself is a pretty small organization. We have a lot of volunteers that work and partner with us, but we are completely focused on just PulsePoint. So we distribute our systems directly, we implement directly, we support it directly as well. So a couple of different sort of efficacy statements here. One of the big ones is from the American Heart Association. The recent CPR guidelines now actually have a Class 1 recommendation that provide a significant recommendation that the dispatch centers alert willing bystanders to nearby events that may require CPR or AED use through mobile phone technology. There's a lot of studies that support, early CPR, early AED use that really drove the folks that penned that to include that now in the CPR guidelines. And then sort of a best practices group on resuscitation is called the Resuscitation Academy. And this type of a technology is also one of their top 10 steps in a comprehensive effort. So, training people on CPR, maybe making that mandatory in schools and communities, measuring success, using rapid dispatch. I know that your dispatch center is using EMD to help identify cardiac arrests and then take standard methods for providing dispatch-assisted CPR as well. So we're looking, to play a part in that comprehensive effort. Another study that was done recently by a group called CARES, which is the Cardiac Arrest Registry to Enhance Survival. This is the largest registry of cardiac arrest from basically when it occurs in the pre-hospital setting to discharge, hopefully, when the patient is discharged from the hospital, and they measure all the different key points of action. And the two that we're really trying to affect, again, is CPR and public AED use. And across the network, they measured PulsePoint communities versus non-PulsePoint communities, and found that CPR was about 5% higher and public AED use was about 3% higher in PulsePoint communities. So not only the technology makes a difference on triggering those alerts, getting those resources to the scene, getting the AEDs located, but it's also an overall awareness opportunity for you guys in your messaging. The trusted voices in the community are who brings it forward. We're here as an organization to support basically your voice to help amplify how important it is to have a community effort in that chain of survival. Within the app, there's 3 different responder types. So, the most responders that are going to carry the PulsePoint app are going to be public responders. These are folks that maybe have been trained on CPR. They have a very limited incident feed, but they only get they only get CPR alerts if the victim is deemed to be in a public location. So within our interface, we would have to, we take basically the address information from the dispatch center of that call, and then if we can identify that it's public, then we trigger the alert to that app user type. If the victim is in a residential setting, then we would only alert what we call a verified responder. These are trusted individuals that are invited by you to participate as a verified responder. And there's a couple different levels of verified responder. There could be CPR trainers, maybe a security guard in a gated community, doctors. These folks would still get a very similar app experience as a public app user, where it's a very limited suppressed incident feed. but they would be able to get CPR alerts on any location. So if it's their neighbor on the same block, they otherwise wouldn't know about that. You know, they could get an alert on that and render life-saving care until first responders can get there. Then we also have another verified responder role called the professional verified responder. And this is really a, apologize for the jargon, but like a mini MDC, MDT in the hands of firefighter, EMT, or paramedics. So they would see a much more professional, complete app experience because they have the, you know, they're sworn individuals to be able to do that. They would actually get the call type descriptions from CAD because your dispatch center is using a product called ProQA. So they get just a lot more functionality within the app experience, and then they would also get alerts on any location, like the community verified responders. So does that make sense? Any questions thus far? All right, we'll keep moving along. All right, let me show you what an alert looks like here. So if you have PulsePoint on your phone and you're traveling to any one of those 4,000 communities and you're within a quarter mile of a victim, in this case, there's a cardiac arrest on a golf course, your phone would sound like this. Hopefully you could hear that. And then once you click that you're going to respond, then it basically would guide you via a map to show you your location, the location of the victim, and then any AEDs that are nearby as well. And if you click on this AED button, it's going to give you a good description based on how that AED was entered into the registry. So we have a lot more than just the location name. It also gives the description, like it's in the Welcome Center, Rotunda Building, under the time card station. So again, you know, very informative with a goal of trying to get that AED utilized because way too often an AED could be near a victim, but just around the corner and nobody knows where it is. There's also some instructions on how to perform CPR. There's a metronome, and also how to use an AED. So there's also kind of that help to improve the quality of CPR and AED utilization, you know, by those light rescuers.
So,
PulsePoint has a lot of different reports for your team. So from an administrative perspective, to be able to measure success, you'd be able to always see, you know, how many alerts we've sent. On each incident, you'd be able to see, the admin team would be able to see, you know, where those alerts were located, where the AEDs were located. We send out a survey to all of the app users that get an alert, inviting them to share their experience, and you get those results as well. Because they might expand on if they provided CPR, if a shot was delivered, if they saw some other people working with the victim. You know, it might be an opportunity for follow-up, for even grief counseling as well, because it is a very traumatic experience that people don't go through, you know, if once in their life. So lots of tools for reporting on an individual event basis, but also on an aggregate basis, so you'd be able to measure, you know, how did it do over the last 12 months? How many alerts have we sent out?
so Craig,
It's also very,
if Pamela is like, okay, she's registered on here to receive a call, and say she's in Florida on her vacation on her birthday, and she's in a town that has PulsePoint, potentially she could get that message to respond in Florida, or are you limited more or less to the area, you know, like here in central Missouri?
yeah, good question. The network effect does follow the app user. So if she's in any one of those 4,000 communities near a victim, she could get an alert. Yep.
Okay.
And you know, kind of the thought pattern there is, you know, we're a pretty transient society, so you know, next to you in Boone County, there could be people in Boone County that work in Poole County, or vice versa. So that's where, you know, kind of on a regional basis, all boats kind of rise when nearby communities are using PulsePoint, because there is a lot of crossover.
So once you're registered, you can, wherever you are, if you're in a community, at one of those 4,000 communities, you could get called to a situation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then one of the services that we provide as part of the system is we have a marketing person that will help from a graphics perspective, but also from a messaging perspective. So when PulsePoint is brought forward after the implementation phase, which we hook up to the CAD system, which is a very lightweight, outbound only interface. We run that in a private environment until everybody gives it the thumbs up. And then once all the thumbs are up, we move it to the production environment and then schedule your launch. So this is, you know, if you go to our website and look under the resources page, you'll see a lot of examples of press conferences, of various launches. This is usually a very well-covered event, you know, from the local media perspective. And the goal is to amplify this launch, get a big splash, so you can create a lot of downloads, you know, because again, you have to have, you know, good utilization within the community of a lot of app users, so there's a good chance somebody's gonna be near that victim and get the alert. And then sort of on an ongoing basis as well, you know, we're here as a resource to provide unlimited digital print-ready materials, messaging. If there's a save, for example, that you wanted to publicize, you know, work with the agencies to make sure, you know, if they're comfortable doing that. If the victim wants to come to the station and thank the responders and maybe, you know, kind of use that to build more awareness, you know, we can help in any manner with that as well. So that's all part of the system, all the design. You basically get a whole series of digital print-ready materials or any kind of other graphic design type of thing that you'd like. So this is the last slide I have, but from an implementation standpoint, you know, the foundation, again, we would be assigning a project manager to help manage the implementation process with your various teams. There's a technical phase, there's a phase with the AED registry. So we'll train kind of the admin folks on how to approve AEDs, help implement different strategies of getting AEDs into the system. And then also then from a community outreach perspective, work with your trusted voices to amplify the message and bring it forward into the community. So that's the high-level flyover. I'll go ahead and pause and see if there's any more questions.
I don't have
I
any
think
questions.
this is an outstanding idea, especially maybe in your rural communities. You may not have an AED, but, you know, the volunteer fire departments sometimes take a little longer to respond. And so having somebody maybe next door, which would be a mile down the road, would, you know, could save a life. You know, because my father, he passed away because he was way out in the country and it took the ambulance so long to get there. My sister did CPR, but, you know, it just took too long to get there. But I have, unfortunately, done CPR on a 4-year-old child, and it's not fun, but we did it. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. He has some other issues going on, but you know, our fire department here in town responds within, you know, 3 to 4 minutes, and the ambulance is right there with them. And in the last 8 months, the ambulance has been like on top of things, so they've really improved on their response time also. So I think it's a great idea, and I don't mind being in another state and being notified that, you know, somebody on the golf course just, you know, 5 minutes down the road is having a heart attack, you know, and going and helping them. But, so, I mean, I'm all for this. This is great. I'm glad I sat in, although I know Sam wants to go to Florida with me. But,
I can carry luggage.
oh, that's okay, okay. But, no, I think this is this is awesome. I really think it's great.
I think we want to present it to our chiefs of the 4 fire districts and our first responders, and I'm sure JC Fire Department, and so that's who I thought some of those were going to be in on this tonight, but
Yeah, I was the understanding that there was gonna be a lot of people, and so, and my choice was tonight or in July, and of course I took tonight. But this has given me the ability to put my feedback in, and if you guys have already seen it, you've probably already added your feedback, but, what do you guys think of it? As the commissioners and
This is
for our city and our community.
This is Harry Otto, Western District Commissioner, and the more I hear about it, the more I like it. I was just curious, not that it's needed, but are there testimonials out there about this thing saved my life? Anybody ever step forward and say, this was the greatest thing, I'm still alive because of this?
Yeah, there's a bunch of individual stories. A lot of those are up on our resources page. If you go to pulsepoint.org resources, there's a lot of videos up there.
Okay.
Anywhere from Good Morning America to Dr. Oz, and there's a lot of them that get amplified. There's also just, I don't know if y'all do Twitter, but if you follow the PulsePoint Twitter feed, we typically will retweet stories from across the network of how it's helped save lives.
Yeah, this is Jeff Elsher, Cole County Eastern District Commissioner, and I did some research on it because I know our sheriff had some concerns about it. But if you go out there and you Google it, there's a lot of information on it, what it does, what it's for, a lot of good stuff. I don't remember finding anything negative about it. And one of the rumors we hear is that we're trying to replace our first responders, and that is as far from the truth as you could be, because this is just another resource and another tool to try to save lives, and it could even be a tool to try to recruit for first responders. So I don't know.
Absolutely. And we may be doing CPR or using an AED on a first responder, so they shouldn't feel that way, but I do understand where they're coming from. But I'm going to go straight to the website as soon as I get off of here.
Well, yeah.
I think this is
first responders, it's like say you're eating at Madison's and somebody at Central Bank has a heart attack. You're basically just a few hundred yards away. So if you can get that call, you can, save a life. But there's a lot of times I'm sure that somebody's having a heart attack and there might be a first responder or one of our EMS people somewhere close by that didn't even know about it until the ambulance or the fire engine gets there, and then that time the person could die. So,
Sam, you're going to be very disappointed if the alert comes, a commissioner in the commission chamber is having a heart attack and nobody shows up.
Sam's going to Florida with me.
yeah, the heck with you. But
And I can do it, so.
well, pass this on to your other first responders and your chiefs, and because you need to get, the whole thing about this is we need to have everybody on board, and then you almost need to run a campaign. Some of those testimonials on some PSAs would be would help a lot, because it's kind of like when we put Rave in, we didn't really publicize it, so it really didn't do a whole heck of a lot of good. If we would put this program in, and then we've got to get our our emergency services people to come on board. And we really need to find out where all the AEDs are. You know, there's a lot of information we need to put out there.
So Craig, I brought this up go ahead.
Yeah, when it's time to do the rollout, there's certainly a lot of mutually beneficial PR that can be had by not just the Cole County EMS and Cole County itself, but all of our allied agencies can certainly jump on board for putting the word out. It's beneficial for the agencies as well as the citizens to have a good active rollout, and then I get more people potentially taking CPR classes and stuff like that too.
Right. Well, and a lot of your faith-based communities are starting to get AEDs, and so down the road, that would be good for them to know how to use them, where they're at. Which, I mean, it tells you what to do, but the AED does. But I mean, if you can't locate it, then it can't help you. But yeah, a lot of the faith-based communities are starting to, you know, do that, get the AEDs and starting to get on board. You know, that may be down the road a ways, but.
Yeah, I think Immaculate Conception, I think, has one, but I don't know if there's anybody that's, you know, you're gonna hope that maybe there's a firefighter or an EMT en masse when that happens, but then the ushers need to be able to tell them where the AED is located, so.
So Craig, one of the questions I brought up last Tuesday, I know it was a concern as well, was about the legal part of it, and that the Good Samaritan law does cover these folks that are responding to this.
Yeah, Dr. Stilling might be able to expand on that more, but the Good Samaritan laws in the U.S. have been designed to really facilitate action and protect people from their best effort of trying to help. So we've had a good track record with, I think we've sent over 500,000 CPR needed alerts, you know, across the network over 10 years, and haven't been aware of any negative experiences with that.
Yeah, in general.
Yeah, because a lot of I'm sorry. A lot of times people are afraid to help because of the, you know, are we going to be covered? Are we not going to be covered? So that, you know, that would be good to put out there too. I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir.
No problem. Yeah, a lot of I know the other medical directors that haven't had any issues pop up with concerns or lawsuits or anything from the activations, and CPR very easily a Good Samaritan type act, whatever the environment is in, unless the person's trying to kick you to get you to stop doing compressions, usually goes well. So yeah, that means it's just working well then.
I don't have any more questions.
No.
I appreciate your time again.
I think it really is potentially could be a great program for Cole County. So hopefully they can just present this at the next chief's meeting, and
That'd be good for this just to be the kickoff for it. We've already done the advertising for the sole source, so we could approve it by, you know, next Tuesday, even if
Yeah.
we want to. We can put it on the agenda. If we're gonna do it, let's get it running, because, I mean, if they say no, are you gonna still do it? Are you still wanting to do this? I mean, we can do it and bring this out to them and say, help us kick this off.
yeah,
Let's get this going.
I don't know why any emergency service would not want to be participate in this. I mean, I can't envision first responders not wanting to be a part of it. I can't, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm naive, but I can't see anybody who would really be opposed to it.
They use this product in Boone County, Dr. Stilly?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we have it. We're new in the implementation in Boone County, so we actually just rolled out the implementation not that long ago. So I don't have any personal experience with its use, Although, interestingly, it has gone off at conferences I've been at. When you have a room full of ER doctors and that goes off and half the cell phones at the conference. Not half, because it's more limited, but you get quite a few going off at events every once in a while. So
Yeah.
it's pretty well adopted.
Well, and it seems like it's an optional thing. If you don't want to participate in it, then, you know, you don't have to sign up, correct?
Right, yeah, I was gonna mention that, and also just, you know, the natural implementation, process is basically we have a kickoff call initially that kind of has all, key stakeholders represented, and then, as we're going through implementation and the technical phase, we're talking about the AED registry kind of on a separate track. So we're kind of naturally, reaching out to agencies and, working with your partners as we go through the implementation process. Typically, it's going to be about a 120-day cycle from when we start implementation until you're actually, announcing it to your community.
And then if questions come up, if you guys hear of them at the Chiefs meeting next week, I'm happy to take emails and stuff from the various chiefs. And then I'll be at the August Chiefs meeting. I think I've got that on my calendar. I need to double check on that, make sure I have the right date. But I'm planning to be at the August Chiefs meeting, ask more questions than if they come up about implementation and rollout and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I was not planning to do the July Chiefs meeting because I thought this was the one that was basically kind of replacing that one. So I won't be able to be at the July one, but I can try to, I'll look at the August. I don't remember the date of it currently, but try to be a resource as best I can for you.
The email was a little confusing, but I got the date for tonight and the Zoom, password and ID, which I didn't need because I use Zoom a lot on my conferences. So, but to the commission, if it's gonna take 120 days, as a voter that voted for all three, or two of you anyway, that I could vote for, I said, let's get it rolling, but that's one voter out of, I don't know, thousands, so.
I appreciate your input on that. I feel the same way. It's get it rolling. I don't know what we're necessarily waiting for, besides we had to do the sole source, so that's where we're at on it, and then we basically have to approve that once it comes in, so. And I did talk to, I guess, the chief of the first responders just briefly to see if he got to see it, and he says what he's seen so far, he thinks it's a good idea too, so I don't know what the holdup is. So if we want to put it on the agenda for Tuesday, we can do that and go from there.
When do we get the
Sounds good.
sole
I'm
source
going to try to be
back?
at the council meeting on Tuesday next week, in case anything comes up during that discussion.
10 days, I believe. So it was 10 days from last Tuesday, the sole source
Okay,
has to
it'll
run.
It'll run.
So,
by then, okay.
yep, so I don't have any more questions.
No, I don't even know if you would need to be here Tuesday for Dr. Tillich. I think we've pretty much decided this is a good program, and I don't know if in July, if they would do better to play this, or maybe talk about it at the July meeting, and then in August, when you're available and when Craig is available, do the full presentation. Or you hate to wait that long. You hate to wait 2 months, but we can talk to, I think Sheriff Wheeler's the head of the Chiefs group, and see if he'd want to play this to them at July's meeting, and then have both of you,
I don't think they were available, that's why they weren't doing
Yeah.
it at that time, so.
yeah, and do both
don't-
of you in
I
August.
don't see any reason to wait for it to be presented to the chiefs. I'd rather roll it out to the chiefs to say, we need you guys on board to help implement this and to get people signed up. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah,
And from what I understand, Sheriff, Wheeler seemed to be really, excited about it and on board with it. So.
I think he had some questions about it, but
I appreciate you letting me be here and letting me do this. I think it's awesome, like I said, but, I say, you know, the sooner we can get started on the paperwork part of it and getting it, you know, going, the better off we're all gonna be.
Yeah, I think, well, Commissioner Otto and I both had questions on it, but I think the presentation last Tuesday that Craig gave was, you know, answered all of my questions. So, I'm just looking at trying to save lives. I think, you know, it's gonna be a lot of education. You're gonna have to, but, you know, publicity, if we can do some PSAs and things like that and get some articles and, you could even put it in church bulletins. So, yeah, we could put it on next Tuesday's agenda and just go ahead and approve it if you want, Jeff.
I'll put it on the agenda, and if we can decide if we gotta wait or something, then we can go
Yeah.
from there, but,
Yeah.
so.
You okay with that, Eric?
I'm good.
Okay,
Okay.
then
So,
I think we're good. Do we
Thank
have
you, guys.
anything else, or Dr. Stilley, or Craig, or Pamela, or when are we leaving for Florida, Pamela?
It's time for supper.
Okay.
So, all right, guys.
Okay.
Thank you guys very much. I don't have any more questions.
No, I think we're good. Thank you.
Yep.
I bet we're ready when you are.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Craig.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dr. Stilley.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Stand in recess until next Tuesday.
I'm making a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. And any?